In August 1976, the Korean Demilitarized Zone. In a strip of land where a misplaced footstep can start a war, a single poplar tree became the center of the world. It wasn't about the wood, it was about the line of sight. Deep inside the Korean Demilitarized Zone, two American officers stepped forward to trim a tree. They never walked back. Within minutes, axes swung, guns were raised, and one of the most dangerous flashpoints of the Cold War exploded into violence. Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the story of how two brutal murders sparked one of the boldest and strangest shows of force in American military history, Operation Paul Bunyan. To understand Operation Paul Bunyan, you have to understand Korea. After World War II, the peninsula was split in two. In the north, backed by the Soviet Union, rose a communist regime led by Kim Il-sung. In the south, supported by the United States, a fragile democracy emerged. In 1950, war erupted. 3 brutal years later, the guns fell silent, but peace never came. The Korean War ended not with a treaty, but with an armistice. And between the two Koreas, a scar was carved across the land. The Demilitarized Zone, the DMZ. Since the Korean armistice in 1953, the DMZ has been one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. A 2.5-mile wide buffer of landmines, razor wire, and constant tension. At its heart lies the Joint Security Area, or JSA, in Panmunjom, where North and South Korean guards stare at each other daily, sometimes only feet apart. The only place where North and South Korean soldiers stand face to face. Here, tension wasn't theoretical, it was personal. American troops stationed there belonged to the United Nations Command. Across from them, North Korean guards watched every move. Between them stood a simple poplar tree, tall, ordinary, and in 1976, deadly. The poplar tree had grown tall enough to block visibility between a UN checkpoint and an observation post. In a place where seconds matter, blocked sightlines mean danger. On August 18, 1976, a small work detail was sent to trim the tree. Leading the team, Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett. They carried no weapons, just axes. As the trimming began, North Korean guards approached. They demanded the Americans stop. The Americans refused. The tree was in UN territory. Then, without warning, North Korean soldiers attacked. Rifles used as clubs, axes ripped from hands. Captain Boniface was beaten to death. Lieutenant Barrett tried to escape. He was hunted down and killed. In less than 15 minutes, it was over. 2 Americans dead, several wounded, and the Cold War just got hotter. News reached Washington fast. President Gerald Ford was briefed immediately. The Pentagon demanded action. Some generals wanted airstrikes, others proposed artillery retaliation, but there was a problem. North Korea was unpredictable, and China stood behind it. The Soviet Union was watching. One wrong move could trigger global war. So the United States chose a different path, overwhelming force, without firing a shot. The mission was simple: finish cutting the tree, but this time bring everyone. On August 21, 1976, the United States returned. Not with a small work crew, but with a show of force unlike anything the DMZ had ever seen. A convoy of trucks entered the Joint Security Area. Inside them, engineers, chainsaws ready. Behind them, hundreds of troops, artillery units on standby, attack helicopters circling overhead. In the skies above, B-52 bombers escorted by fighter jets. Off the coast, the aircraft carrier USS Midway moved into position. This was not tree trimming. This was a warning. Chainsaws roared to life. American soldiers formed a defensive perimeter, weapons locked, eyes forward. Across the way, North Korean troops gathered, watching, waiting. For 42 minutes, the sound of engines echoed across the DMZ. The tree fell. Not a single shot was fired. The message was clear. The United States would not be intimidated. Something unexpected happened next. North Korea issued a statement. It expressed regret. Not an apology, but regret. In the shadow world of Cold War diplomacy, that mattered. Tensions eased, for now. Operation Paul Bunyan became a case study in calibrated aggression, power without escalation, force without fire. The Cold War continued, but that August day in 1976, the world stepped back from the brink. Today, the DMZ still stands. The Joint Security Area still exists. Tourists now walk near the very place where axes once swung. But beneath the calm, the tension remains. Operation Paul Bunyan reminds us of something profound. Wars don't always begin with missiles. Sometimes they begin with a tree. And sometimes the greatest show of strength is restraint. Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett gave their lives over a routine mission. Their sacrifice and the bold response that followed remind us how fragile the peace on the Korean Peninsula truly is, and how close the world once came to war over a tree. This was Operation Paul Bunyan, and the end. War thrives on destruction, but passion builds legacies that last forever. Choose to create, not to conquer. Build your world with love instead of tearing others down. Thank you for your time. Have a great day and stay safe.